Hi, I'm Jeannie Kelly, your credit coach, and I'm so excited to have Rob Gross with us today. Hi, Rob. How are you?
Hey, Jeannie, I'm well. I'm always happy when I get to talk to Jeannie, so of course I'm okay.
Oh, well, I feel the same. I'm so excited because every time I think New York real estate in the Big Apple, I think of you. Always.
And every time I think my credit's just messed up, I don't know what to do. I don't have any money. What's my credit score? Who can I help? I think of Jeannie. And I'm like, so here's the story, everyone out there. So, a lot of us, we're in a service business. A lot of us do the same thing. But here's the thing about Jeannie that makes her different. Um, when I send a client to Jeannie, I know that she's being taken care of, not just professionally, but Jeannie really lets herself come out and people come into her. And there are a couple of businesses that I really want to model after. And, depth of knowledge is one thing. It's like at a restaurant. Like and I love to eat, I love to cook. I can understand if the chef's having a bad night. But if the person at the front doesn't feel like they want you there, you don't feel welcomed, it's not professional, it kind of like ruins the experience. So um, think of Jeannie as that person who's going to take care of you.
Oh,
She has
thank
all my
you.
cards. And therefore, she takes care of me. I'm really so happy and honored to be on this podcast. It means a lot to me. So thanks, Jeannie.
Oh, thank you, Rob. And we've known each other for a really long time. I was
Yeah.
thinking about that like while you jumped on because first of all, let's talk about real estate. What got you into real estate?
Yeah, it's one of those stories. So I got out of college. I went to Newhouse at Syracuse. So I was doing a lot of video and I was doing in-house photography for ad agencies and all that kind of stuff that you do when you go to Newhouse. And I thought, oh, I'll be a copywriter. I'll do this and that. And I ended up working for this lousy little ad agency that was working. It was industrial. They worked for companies. And so I was doing pamphlets and books. I woke up feeling sick to my stomach. This is not what I wanted to do. In the meantime, I had met this woman who's now my wife, and we fell in love quick and hard. We kind of met on the subway. It's a different story. It's a real New York story.
Oh, I
But
love it.
anyway, her cousin is this fellow named Bob Eichner. And after knowing each other, Marianne and I, we moved in together for 6 months. And then we were in the East Village and it was the 80s. And it's like, we had it. I lived in the Lower East Side. We had done all that. And what's 180 degrees? Well, let's buy a cute little place in the West Village. So we bought something at 45 Perry. It was a fifth floor walk up, and Bob was our broker. And I got to know Bob, and he was so good to us. And he had a wicked sense of humor, and we just hung out all the time. And so we bought this property and said, Rob, you really like real estate, because I was going to open houses after we bought this. I just got bit by that bug that
Uh-huh.
many of us get bit by. And he goes, you should be a broker. You'd be a great broker. I'll teach you the business. It's like, Bob, commissions only. I can't do that. So this ad agency with this boss and this job I hated, one day I got called into her office and I got fired. Now,
Ooh.
I've had a job. My parents owned a China retail store in Yonkers, roadside China. I've been working since I've been 7, like dusting dishes and getting a quarter an hour. It was old school. Never been fired. I was devastated. My father, we don't get fired. It's like, it was horrible.
Yeah.
But I went to Bob and I said, you know what? I'm going to take you up on this. And I had no money to speak of. And I said, can I borrow some money? So I borrowed $2,000 with interest, because that's how Bob did business. And so I did. And I got my license, Jeannie and everybody else, right after Black Monday in 1987. I got my license, I think, November 11th. And I closed my first deal March 7th, the year following, in 1988. And my first client was this woman named Faith Gear.
Oh.
And I don't know how she came my way, but she did. And she wanted to get a 1-bedroom in a pre-war apartment with a fireplace, had to have a fireplace. So that meant West Village, Gramercy. And I found her a place at 144 East 19th Street, 18th Street. block beautiful. But in the meantime, when we were looking, she was a character actor, an older woman playing on Broadway on Cat on a Hot Tin Roof with Jessica Lange. And I
Oh,
got
wow.
she'd take me to the Gramercy Arts Club. She'd invite me and my wife to parties. She came to parties at our house. She was in her 60s, which back then was like, she's old, but she's cool. And so, I met this incredible woman. I would see these great properties. I sold her a 1-bedroom. I don't know how much it was. I got paid money to do something I found really interesting. And so I've always been in contract since that day. And I think I found the perfect job for me. Why?
Mhm.
I really like people. I grew up playing penny poker with my aunts and my uncles. So I like the negotiating. I like the dance. I like the game. And I love New York. I love the neighborhoods. I love the properties. I love the history. I love the architecture. And like, what better way to be a part of the fabric of the city than to be a broker in New York? There is, I mean, maybe there is. But for me, yeah, it's was a dream job. It is a dream job. I've met incredible people. I've learned a lot. I've met people, brokers and developers, owners and sellers, and then people like myself, who's a vendor, like Jeanne. And I met my river is narrow and deep. I don't need to know. I only know one Jeanne. That's all you need to know. 2 or 3 attorneys I like, 3 or 4 architects I like, 3
Right.
or 4 mortgage brokers. Like, I just want the best.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that I love everyone you always send my way has the same energy as you. So, I mean, they must find you. It's all this fabulous, great vibe that you have. And I can tell, obviously, I know you love what you do. I always say every single day, find what you love, what you do, and the money always flows. You don't have to worry about the money because you love what you're doing every day, so it makes sense. And
Yeah,
I feel blessed, in doing what I do. I love it. I fell into it by accident. I talk about it all the time. Horrible credit I had. And, I learned from it and built a company because of it.
yeah,
I don't want anyone else to feel that same way. So, but I love that. I loved your energy. And tell me about the city right now. Like right now, what's going on for real estate in New
yeah.
York City?
I always feel like the player or coach in the room. Don't worry about this. I've been through, you know, 9/11 or really 93 with the first bombing. I've been through like the crack epidemic in 91 to 93, Y2K.com, of course, the mortgage crisis. I feel I've been
Yes.
through pretty much everything. And look, I try not to worry about things I can't control, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I try to be useful to other brokers with maybe some less experiences. Like, do not panic. It will come back. It's New York City.
Mhm.
And so, what happened, of course, everything died during COVID. I was very fortunate that I had a bunch of deals that were contracted before the world stopped that I actually closed. I really didn't do a lot of deals during COVID, but I
Mhm.
figured I wouldn't. And I
Mhm.
worked on other stuff in my life. I didn't really need to too
Mhm.
much, but I kept working. It was just very hard to make a dollar.
Right.
And that's why, I like making money, but I also like saving money. And people are different. My parents were first generation depression, World War II. My dad always had cash. It's like, don't spend too much. Having said that, and that's why we need people like Jenny. There's nothing wrong with leveraging, especially
Mhm.
when interest rates are 3% for a 30-year fix. But that time isn't now, is it? So what's happening in the market? Well, what happened is that, in 2018, the Fed was kind of in a trade war with China. They were worried about inflation. They were driving interest rates low and lower and to unprecedented lows that we may not see for a long time, if ever. Like, who knows the future? And people forget that, when I started, it was double-digit interest rates. It
Right.
just was. And the important stat, if it helps you or not, like the 40-year average is 8%. So we have short memories here in New York. We want what we want. We had this period. So what happened? Everybody went out to the suburbs, left New York. No money was coming in.
Mhm.
And then New York was the epicenter, really, of the virus. But then New York, being New York, got as virulent about protecting New York and vaccines and being smart that we kind of became the epicenter of dealing with COVID. And so
Mhm.
we were about 9 months behind the suburban market. And then I didn't expect this. Like, I'm not saying I'm a prognosticator or have a Ouija board. I do, actually. And I gave Jonathan Miller, who you probably know, right? Jonathan Miller is, probably the most knowledgeable real estate prognosticator. He knows everything about trends. And I gave him a crystal ball because he helped me on a land lease situation. I didn't know. I was like, here, now you can really do your job the way real people do it by guessing. Anyway, I talked to him a lot and he really helped me understand what was happening. So people flew back to New York, and I did not expect the market that we had, say, up till May or June.
Mhm.
Sellers were actually naming prices. Bidding wars were fast and furious. People were throwing money. People realized that, hey, I want to have dinner at 9 o'clock at night like I used to. I can't do that where I'm at. And I
Mhm.
can't, even if theater wasn't happening then, it will come back as it has.
Right.
Um, you can't kill New York.
Yeah,
New
I
York
know.
is like the cock. Sorry, New York is the
That's okay.
cockroach of cities. Like, it will morph, it will change, it will come out stronger and better.
Yep.
Maybe cockroach is the wrong metaphor. What I mean. And so it has. And,
Yep.
it's interesting what will happen in Midtown with all the
Mhm.
office space and how that's going to be used. But I
Right.
also believe that COVID accelerated what was going to happen, just within the business community, that we would learn to satellite away from the office and kind of live this binary business life where we would work at home and come to the office. But I am old school because I'm kind of old, but I had these Syrian developers I was working with for a project downtown. And fortunately, their office was close to me. They didn't use email.
Mhm.
They owned 21 properties without any debt, and they had an office that looked like kind of just the ceilings were 8 feet tall, like covered in carpet. It was crazy. And like, they go, Mr. Gross, you come, we'll have tea. If you need to get in touch with us, you can fax something to the girl. The girl is like 78 and in a house dress. I'm like, picturing her, I'll connect you now. But they taught me this, which I really knew instinctively anyway. There is no substitute for being in a room with somebody if you really want to get something done. Oh, you'll get
Right.
stuff done. Of course, we will.
Mhm.
But I feel business is about people on
Yeah.
one level. Maybe if you're an engineer, not, but we're all end users. We're all selling something, whether it's our knowledge or widgets or real estate, you know. And
Yep.
so they would have me over and have me for tea and ask about my wife and my daughter, and then commence to eviscerate me as best they could and beat me up on this and that. But I loved the protocol, and they were actually really good guys.
Yeah. I wonder about that. I'm always thinking life will never be the same
Nor
because
should it
we've
be.
right, because things change no matter what. And I wonder with the real estate, like, because during the lockdown, let's say, you couldn't go in homes, you saw virtual tours, let's say, there's nothing again, Rob, like going in. I'm sure I've heard nightmares from even some of my circle saying, well, I didn't see, because I bought it virtually, I didn't see what was on the next block, or how did the feeling of the building or whatever it may be. So I believe everything you have to be there in person, but I'm wondering what will be the change in the real estate world as far as technology, with
Right.
those types of things. Do you see anything different like that
You
compared
know, I
to, you know, the
I
open
see the
houses?
technology advancing to be better what it was.
Okay.
I mean, you can't see if someone smoked or not, but if you go into a property, it smells kind of funky, you can tell.
Right.
You can't really hear your neighbor. You can't really see the condition of the lobby. You can't get a vibe from the building. And, was it Foxtons who came into the city with a rush like 20 years ago? I still remember their hot dog, umbrellas, and they were like a discount brokerage, and that didn't last for too long. And it might
Hmm.
work outside the city, but we do have co-ops. We are dealing with the 1% of the 1%. And I think people who have money understand that um, service provided is invaluable, or actually, it
Right.
is valuable. You can't quantify it. I know, the value that I bring to a deal, and part of it's market knowledge, part of it's technical, and a lot of it is my relationship with other brokers.
Hmm.
Even if I don't know them, they
Right.
know that I'll get a deal done. And I go into every deal figuring I'll work 120%, and I'm not going to make the other broker look bad. I'm going to make the
Yeah.
other broker look good,
Right.
because ultimately brokers are my clients
Right.
in many ways. And
Yeah.
I have done many deals. I've gotten many deals done because I've been on the other side. And conversely, I want to get the best deal for my clients, but I want to get a deal that goes through. And in my 36 years as a broker, I've had one board turned down. And yeah, I've made
Wow.
some money, but that is the stat I am most proud of.
That is amazing.
And
Good
I
for
don't just sell
you.
condos; I sell a lot of condos. But yeah, I mean, part of it maybe is luck, but it really, if you're listening out there, brokers, you really have to quantify your buyers,
Hmm.
qualify and quantify. And
Right.
part of it's instinctual. And, it happens. I'm surprised it didn't happen more, but it didn't. Um, a little
Yeah.
surprised, but I'm just really like, I know that I like to have fun and bring that kind of energy. But when it comes to the bottom line, brokers and buyers and sellers, first and foremost, my fiduciary to you is the most important thing without any argument. It's not debatable. It's not negotiable. I work
Hmm.
for you.
Right.
And,
That's, yeah.
how do you want to work?
Right.
Um, real estate is hard boiled, and I've done 22 development projects. And yeah, sometimes people get banged up. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but it
What's your,
happens.
yeah, Rob, what's your favorite client or real estate deal? Like what's your favorite when you're like, "Ooh, I'm so excited about this next real
My
estate."
favorite deals are the hardest deals.
Yep. You love the challenge.
I recently sold a duplex penthouse in the Lower East Side with an out of town buyer and his wife who were buying it for their daughter who was graduating college. And he wanted to change the condo declaration. And it was a 3 unit building. And there was a new buyer coming into the floor below. And although, did he really need to have it changed? Probably not. And he was a patent lawyer and very, very smart. And he would tell you he's the smartest guy he knew, but he was really smart. And we had to get the new buyer to approve it. We had to negotiate the owner to give them a free parking space. It took us about 5 months. We got the contract signed early conditionally, and the seller was a prince, and the other broker was a prince. But it took so long to get it done. And I'd be driving in the car with my wife and daughter taking her up to college, and they'd hear this guy yelling and they'd be eye rolling. And at one point, I had to say, Mr. So and so, or we'll call him John. It's like, John, I know you're upset. I know you're yelling at me. You're going to feel bad about this because you're like a decent guy. You don't need to yell at me. I'm on your
Right.
side. And it's not going to help you. At this point, it's kind of amusing. Like my daughter and wife are rolling their eyes at you. Like, I get it. You're upset. I'm throwing suggestions at you because I've been around. We'll get it
Yep.
done. He was very difficult, and he said, I'm really sorry. At the end, you did a good job. I said, no, you know what? I'm grateful. Like, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. And yes, you were very difficult. You're always so nice. But you're not a bad guy, and you got
Right.
what you wanted the way you wanted it. I'm really proud that I can make that happen for you.
That's awesome. I love it.
Wasn't my favorite client, but the property was fantastic, and we were the first people in.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I love real estate. I love hearing the
What's realistic?
stories. You've, I mean, because of you, I have so many other friends because of the introduction, and truly some of my favorite people. You know that I've just missed out on a lunch because I didn't get to go the same day, but we will get together because I do believe, like you, there's nothing like in person. There's nothing getting to know someone so well. And, that's why I feel like it's this dream team, that you get to surround yourself with the greatest of the greatest in the industry. You are definitely the greatest when it comes to real estate. And I'm always honored to work with you, Rob. I really
Oh,
appreciate it
stop it.
always.
Oh, Jeannie, flatterer. Look, I don't know what to say. It's very kind of you.
It's truth.
Also talking about favorite deals. So I did a lot of developers, but not like these 100-story buildings. I did a lot with people like, should we buy a restaurant? Should we invest in a musical? Or should we build a 50,000 square foot project in Hell's Kitchen? Like, let's do a condo. So, it was the architect, and it was me, and it was them, and it was the bank. And, I did a lot of those smaller projects, and it was just so interesting. And I learned so much. And, that's been really fortunate in my career to have the opportunity to collaborate with some really brilliant people and
Yeah.
some people who were smart but didn't really know a lot. And, but they had money, and a lot of it was like they were basically subscribing people to invest. So I raised a lot of equity for these
Right.
guys.
That's great. Yeah.
No, not all guys. One was a woman.
That's
I don't mean
right.
to be gender specific. People. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah.
Bessie, that's my kid. Um, and so that's interesting. I bought a lot of property from these guys,
Yep.
and yeah, who knew?
Yeah, it's
But I
exciting. I know, like I said, you always, and you can't get that. You've had the very long history. Looking at you, I never can imagine 36 years you say you've been doing it. Come on. I don't believe it. But no, there's nothing like when you want to get into the city and having someone who really knows the city, because there's a difference. And you know Rob
and
Gross, you're the guy.
I will say, there are things I don't know. I mean, there are certain parts of the city that I don't feel like I'm an expert,
Hmm.
and I ask other brokers to partner with me. I
Yeah.
want to give my clients the best service.
Yep.
Like East End Avenue, not so much my thing, but clients come to me, and I want them to be taken care of. I mean, people go, Rob, you're a downtown broker. What are you doing on Park Avenue? It's like, I go where my clients take
Right. Aw, that's nice. I hear your puppy.
me.
And I love that. You know me. I'm surprised my dogs most times sometimes they are barking during this podcast. So I love it. Rob, what's the takeaway? What's your number one tip for listeners thinking about real estate in New York City?
Well, for buyers, be opportunistic. There's not a buyer's broker market. There's not a seller's broker market. Sorry. There's not a buyer's market. There's not a seller's market. There's always a broker's market. And what that means is tap into your broker. It's hard to handicap the market. It's impossible. And so, if you see something you like, you should buy it.
I love that.
Because, if you're living in New York, chances are you're doing well. It's not an easy city to live in financially. And so how do you quantify happiness? What's going to make you happy? You're going to kill it, hopefully, in your business. But to me, where you live is so important. It becomes, at least for me, I'm really domestic. I love to cook. I like to have people over. My home is part of me. And I've been I just feel funny saying the word blessed, but I really feel blessed. I mean, it's not like it's over, but my career has been great. The places I lived in, I've been with my wife for 37 years. I don't know how that puts up with me. Our kid's 21. Like we're close. I have a yippy dog who I love. I have friends like you. Like, look, I'm not always happy. I know I seem really happy now because I'm talking to Jeanne, but surround yourself with good people, surround yourself with good things. It's an inside job, meaning try not to be too hard on yourself. That's advice I should take. We all probably could take,
Yep.
Um,
That's
yeah,
great.
stick with the winners. Stay close to people you love.
Yeah.
Find more people to love. Give back if you can.
Yeah. I
Like
love
I'm
that.
saying all these things, I don't always do them. But I'm grateful for the life I have. I really
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
And this career, which kind of came out of nowhere. I never
I
thought
love
I'd be
that.
a real estate broker at a time where, it's different now. There are these mega teams, and I've had a big team, but not like the teams now. And, things change. There's nothing wrong with mega teams. They do a
Yeah.
great job.
Mm-hmm.
They have market share. They work really hard. You have to find some people like pastrami, other people like tofu. It's like, what suits you? Who's the type of broker you want to be with?
Yep.
But surround yourself with a broker who really listens, and don't surround yourself with a broker with commission breath. It's stinky.
Ah, that's awesome. We're going to end it with that, Rob. Thank you
Okay.
so much. It was
Thank you,
great
Jeanne.
having you, and I can't wait to see you in person.
And last words, surround yourself with good people. Even if you don't need credit help, give Jeanne a call. He's going to take care of you. You'll get this like grin on your face like I have after you talk to Jeanne, because she's the
Oh,
best. Not only
thank
what she
you.
does, she's just a marvelous human being in every way.
Oh,
I'll
thank
leave
you
that
so
alone.
much. What a great podcast.
I think so. And you only have to pay me half. I had such
Thanks, Rob.